Hey guys, welcome back. We are live. This is another episode of Recovery Talk, and as always, the main purpose I started doing this is to bring awareness and to show others that recovery is possible. Because when the pandemic hit, everything shut down. A lot of things. I'm in California. Everything is still shut down here in California. So one thing I always say will never shut down is social media. People who are struggling with drugs and alcohol, a lot of them, the majority, have social media, and they could be scrolling on their feed one day and see something that somebody who's in recovery might post something or see this live stream, and the seed can get planted from there, and they can maybe possibly start to go into the direction of recovery. Now today, I got my friend coming on. I can see him now. He's on right now. His name is Victor. He's gonna be telling his story of how he went from addiction or jail, rehab to recovery. So I will get him on right now, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I always love to see, so thank you guys so much for everything, all the support. Love you guys. But here he comes. Hey,
What's up?
hey, Victor, what's up, bro? How's it
How
going?
you doing?
I'm good. I'm
Good?
good. I'm good. Life is good, but it can always get better. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, bro, for agreeing to do this, man, because there's some people that they just cherish their anonymity, and that I respect and understand. But for me personally, like, if I'm anonymous, then how is my next door neighbor John, that's sick and suffering, gonna know if recovery is possible? If I keep my mouth closed, about it, because I'm very passionate about recovery because of the life that I have today. I thank God for it, man. I give God all the glory for everything, because I always say, God is not in recovery. Recovery is in God, and if it wasn't for him, I would not be here right now. And I never take that for granted. And I just appreciate, you, people like you that are, spreading the message of hope that recovery is possible. Like, I always say that, the reason I started doing this is, to the main purpose is to show others that recovery is possible, and carry the message. I mean, me personally, bro, like, I got sober in a 12-step program, but I don't care how somebody got sober. If you once struggled with drugs and alcohol and you do not anymore, I don't want to hear about it. You know what I mean? Because it inspires hope, man. It really does. So, but again, bro, thank you for being here, man. Taking the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick, Victor. Before we get started, I'm gonna ask you a few questions. So the first question I want to ask you is, how long have you been sober?
I've been my sobriety date is April 11th of 2014.
All right, man. Congratulations, dude. That's like you going on what, 7 years?
Yeah, in a couple months.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
congratulations. My
Thank you.
birthday, my sobriety birthday is next month on the 17th. Actually, I'll be the. If I stay willing, I'll make it to 4 years clean and sober.
Nice.
Yeah. And then where are you from, bro?
I live in Santa Barbara County in California.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Santa Barbara, and then kind of pretty much stayed in this area.
Yeah. I
I've
know
been here my whole life.
we were talking about that the other day,
Yeah.
and I was telling you, because like Santa Barbara reminds me a lot of Hawaii, man, like Santa Cruz, Santa Barbara, because that's where I'm from. And so I was like, man, I would love to live out here, one day. We'll see.
I'm act- I'm actually right now. I'm actually at my family's house in the neighborhood where I grew up, and like right behind, literally like right across the street from me was where I was, where it was one of the places where I was at my bottom,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Where so it's it's a kind of like
Like a bittersweet thing.
yeah, it's an experience because I like years ago I was on these streets just like a zombie, and now I'm able to come back and just and do this. So it's beautiful for me.
Yeah, I bet, man. I bet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm originally from the Big Island of Hawaii, and if I got sober out here in California, like if I try to get into recovery and get sober and stay sober back in Hawaii, I know for sure it would have been way more difficult for me because number one, I'm on an island, so everybody knows me. I know everybody, and they know where I live. They just stop by anytime. But I had a chance to go back to Hawaii a couple times since I've been sober, and it's different, bro. Like I go to the same places where I used to get drunk and high. And like to me, I don't know, it just looks different. Like literally, it just looks different to me. You know, like I can see everything today. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Like the ocean is a different color blue. You know, it's awesome. You know, but before you get into your story, one more question. So, what was your choice in like drink or and drug?
so originally when I was a kid, because I started when I was like 11 years old, originally it was drinking,
Mm-hmm.
and then um, beer was like the thing that made me feel normal,
Yeah.
right? And then from there it was smoking weed with the homies, and just that was normal. And then um, as I got older, it turned into a opiate addiction, Vicodins,
Oh.
and always crystal meth and heroin was always in my life. But the ones that really brought me down at the end were uh, uh, slamming heroin
Mhm.
and smoking crystal meth, but more
Yeah.
heroin than anything.
Oh wow, man. Whoa, whoa.
Yeah,
Hey, thank God you're still here, bro.
I know.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll give you the floor now, Victor, to go ahead and tell your story. I'm excited to hear
Okay,
it, the whole thing.
so like I was saying, I was born and raised in Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was talking about alcohol, and so I learned really quick, and I hear it a lot with alcoholics, is that with alcohol, it took away the uncomfortability, it took away the anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
it took away all these little feelings that I didn't even know what the names were when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But what it did most importantly for me was it gave me courage, right?
Yeah.
It gave me courage to fight back, because I was so like timid and insecure as a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my hair is black now, but when I was a kid, I had red hair,
Oh
right? And
wow.
so yeah, so the part of Mexico where my family's from,
Mhm.
they're like really light skinned and they have red hair and freckles, and I got teased about that a lot, and so it kind of like, I don't know, that was one of my first things that I dealt with, but
Mhm. Like Canelo
I,
Alvarez.
huh? Oh
Like Canelo.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Canelo, that's what it is, the
Yeah.
cinnamon, right? Um, and so I learned really quick that drinking was like a way to make me comfortable, and I got involved with gangs when I was 11 years old after sixth grade,
Mm-hmm.
right? My mom was always gone. There was a little point in my life when I was a kid where my stepdad was around, and
Mm-hmm.
there was some normalcy, right? He never hit us, he never cussed at us, he never yelled at us. I loved him, I respected him, and but things didn't work out with him and his mom. I mean, with him and my mom,
Yeah.
and so all of a sudden my mom was a single mom with me and my brother because my dad wasn't around. My
Mm-hmm.
sister had her dad, so she had that support, and I would spend time with my stepdad, but it was a little bit different because as a young man, I yearned that relationship with my dad, right? I
Yeah.
always wanted it,
Yeah.
and I don't. My dad didn't feel the same way. He what like he married, my dad married another woman, and took care of her and her kids, which was kind of shocking to me because I'd see how emotional he would get with them and the structure and discipline he had with those kids when I would visit him.
Mm-hmm.
But with me, it was just like we were just cool,
Yeah.
right? But there was like no intimacy or no emotional attachment, and
Uh,
I was cool with it. And as most of the guys that I hung around with, our dads weren't around. Our moms were, some of them, their dads were in prison. Most of the moms were working full time, and we had a lot of freedom. My mom worked a lot. My mom worked really hard for not even that much back then,
mm-hmm.
but made sure that we had everything we needed. And in her mind, that was cool. And yeah, that's what a parent's supposed to do. But I didn't get a lot of attention emotionally, right?
Right.
I was talking to my cousin earlier, and I was telling him like my mom never even asked me if I had homework, or she never asked me how my day was after school. Never. I don't remember that. But my mom was still really loving and caring, right?
Mm-hmm.
She made sure we had everything we needed, and so like missing stuff at home, right? I could always go to my grandparents. My grandparents were old school Mexican grandparents, super loving,
Mm-hmm.
hugging a kiss when I saw them, hugging a kiss when I left. I had to eat when I got there. My grandma, it didn't matter how old I was. After I ate, she would make me take a nap and tuck me in. Even, even in my later years, when I'd get out of prison, she would still do the same thing because she would still look at me as that little kid, and so like there wasn't no structure, and and like there was a lot of fighting at home. My mom didn't have the emotional skills to deal with me and my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Right, my brother was involved in gangs before me, and my cousin, my cousin that I'm outside his house, he was involved, and so I looked up to them, and I wanted to be like them, and so I followed their footsteps. And all the homies that they hung around with would see me, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's my brother, that's his little brother," and so they would take care of me, and we would go, and it was cool because we would just hang around and we'd kick it at the park, and we'd get in trouble and do all this stuff, and like I enjoyed it because I think for so long I always wanted to be part of something, right? I played sports as a kid, and I enjoyed it, but for some reason I never really felt connected, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
with these guys, like these were the homies, and they didn't judge me. They made sure. I remember I was 11 years old, and we were drinking St. Ides, like 40s, because we would drink 40s. That was the
Yeah.
neighborhood drink, right? We would drink 40s, and that's what we did. We got 40 cigarettes. We'd kick it at the school, the park, wherever we could find, because our parents weren't going to let us do that. And I remember the first time I really got drunk, like I was drinking all night, and I was 11 years old, and we're at the school, and I remember drinking, and I remember going to like a blackout. I remember somebody trying to pick me up, and then I fell and I hit my head on the cement bench, and that's all I remembered, and after that, I woke up in the morning, and I was at another homie's house, and they told me that they carried me all night, and they changed me and they dressed me and they made sure I got put to sleep, and like that was like love, because they made sure I was okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I liked it, and so in the culture that we had, like um drinking is always normal. Like drinking alcohol is normal in my culture, right?
Yeah.
It's at every event, baby shower,
Yeah.
baptism, everything, right?
Yeah.
somebody brings something. Even if you tell somebody it's a no alcoholic party, somebody's gonna come with beer and it's or it's normal, and nobody's
Yeah.
gonna say anything, My my parents are from Mexico. I was born here, so I'm first generation, and so some of those things come over, and the what we had as kids, smoking, drinking. We were, I smoked crack cocaine my first time when I was 12 years old, right?
Wow.
There was a dude in the neighborhood that had a van, and he sold coke. He sold coke and weed, and he didn't care, and you gave him whatever you had. I only got $8. Okay, I'll hook you up, right? And it was that dirt cheap Mexican weed, and it wasn't the best coke, but we were kids, and that's what we did, and um school wasn't important to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing was I was I I cheated on the test when I was in first grade, right? And so it gave the teachers an assumption that, oh, this kid is smart, right? And so I had to live up to that. I always had to work towards that, and I always did. And so I figured out through cheating on the test that I guess I was a good student. And so they would put me in classes, and they would assume that, oh, well, he's doing good in school and there's nothing going on. But one thing and I used to get into fights in elementary school. Um, I got into fights in elementary school because it gave me attention, right? That was one of the first things that gave me attention, and um I've always yearned attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was something that I always wanted, and that's what that was, right? And I just don't remember as a kid growing up people really asking me like, hey, how are you doing? How's everything at home? I don't remember that. So that emotional attention I never got as a kid, and so if I was drinking at a young age, it didn't really matter because I had alcohol in my system and I was cool. I didn't care if I didn't get attention or not. I had the beer in my system, and that's what made me happy. And I started getting arrested at the age of 13, at a young age. And so um it's hot out here today in California.
Yeah,
uh
yeah, it is. And it's winter. It's
I
like the hottest
know.
winter ever, man. It's like
we,
spring.
we shouldn't be complaining, right? But that's why I'm in the tank top in the middle of winter. But yeah, I started getting arrested at a young age, and started going to juvenile hall and boys camps when I was 13.
Yeah,
And there's my mom tried, right? My mom tried, but she really didn't have the skills, right? She didn't really have to know what's going on. And even if I was committed to the gang and the homies, right? I was
right.
committed because I was that's what I wanted to be. I fed it, I fit in, and I had a nickname, so I had this whole different person. I had
Oh,
this in 50 in Seattle.
yes, yeah.
Uh, but I had this whole different persona that I didn't have to be myself, right? I could act like a different person. So, and I learned at an early age that drinking gave me courage, and that violence gave me attention, and violence gave me respect.
Uh-huh.
And so, it's cold over there. But that's what I learned. And I started going in and out of facilities at the age of 13. And
Mm,
and finally, when I was 15, and I would go to boys' homes, group homes, and I would always run away, go back to the neighborhood.
yep.
My mom was always supportive. My mom would always make sure I was okay, and she would come visit me. And I was her boy, and like my mom was so loyal to us, no matter what. And it was good, but I always knew that no matter what I did, whether it was wrong, where I was breaking the law, where I was on the run, um, whatever I was doing, my mom was always going to have my back. And
Right.
so those were like my first signs of enabling, right? Oh, you go to jail? Oh, I'll send you this. I'll go visit you. I'll bring that.
Uh-huh.
And it's not her fault because as a mom, that's all she knew, right?
Yeah.
And she's just trying to love me, trying to love her son, and um, this was a pattern in and out for 2 years. And finally, when I was 15, I got in some big trouble, and um, I got sent up to the youth authority, which I was telling you earlier
Yeah.
is a juvenile. It's now extinct juvenile prison
Mhm.
for anything. People are there from robbery to assault, all the way from murder, right? And so people from all over California, and that's where I ended up, and I spent a couple years there. And I remember the first time that I got out, I did a couple years, and I got out, and a couple of relatives and my homies picked me up. And when they picked me up, the first thing we did was drink. Right, I went right the same, yeah, the
Yeah.
same the same behavior I was doing a couple years ago. I went right back to immediately, right, and we drank, and um and then we drank all night, and I was supposed to report in the morning, and we partied all night. And I remember getting what's up, Denise? And then I got home probably like at 4 in the morning,
Yeah.
and I knocked on the door. Right, I just got been gone for a couple years in the same. And then in the morning, I get home at 4 in the morning. I open the door, and my mom opens the door. She's like, "It's like you were never gone," and she let me in, and I came back in, and I was back in, right, because I never really changed my behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and in those in those institutions that I was with. It's crazy because some of the youth authorities, um, some of the units that I was in were drug drug rehab units,
Right.
right? But not really, sort of. And they would have they would have the 12 steps on the wall, right? And so we would learn the 12 steps, we would memorize them,
Yeah.
but we didn't really understand what they were. Nobody sat there and explained to us what they were. We just had to know
Right.
what they were, right? And so this was like this was a I was out maybe like my like right I was out like 3 weeks maybe, and then I went right back in, I partied the whole time, did the same thing, in and out, in and out, and I went right back in for about another year and a half, and came out. And the thing was always the same. I always had to drink or party or have something in my system to make me feel normal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was never really comfortable with myself. I never really liked myself. Um, and the thing was, I've always known, like, deep down inside, that I was a good-hearted person,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to live a good life, but I didn't know how to do it. Right? I was living a life as a homie, and that's what I learned. But inside, I didn't really want to do that, but that's all I knew. And so now I had to portray the part,
Yep.
and it was tough because I could, it was drugs and alcohol made it easy, right?
Yep.
Um, but when I'm in the system, it wasn't always the same, and I had to really put on a front,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I wanted to go home and be with my family, but I get in trouble in there and get into fights in there, and because I want to survive and be fit in and be part of, and it's just like more confusing to the madness. That's why I don't know why they call it the Department of Rehab, because I don't know what kind of damn rehab they're talking about. But when I was in there, and I went to prison when I went to prison when I was 19, and I would literally just be in a cell, or whatever it was, a dorm, hang out all day, watch TV, go to a yard, work out, do all that, and that was what I did every day. I went to prison when I was 19 years old, and to adult prison, and
Mm-hmm.
this was like this was my life, probably for by the time I was 19, I've already uh, done heroin. Crystal meth
Yeah.
was already normal, or they call it crank back then.
Mm-hmm.
Smoking weed, doing coke, I had done everything already, right?
Yeah.
Because it was normal. I didn't say. I've always known deep down inside. I've always known that I was an addict. I've always known that, right? But it wasn't like an addict, like now I can identify as an addict, and know that I identify for a reason, right? Identify now so I could work on myself.
Right.
Back then, I identified as an addict because I was an addict, and I love drugs. Like, I literally love drugs.
Yeah.
And but I would say I just, I got older, and I got older, and but when I was 25 years old, um I had a little girl, my daughter. My daughter had a I had a daughter. I have a daughter. I had a daughter in when I was 25 years old. My daughter, Victoria. I named her after me, right?
Uh,
Victoria. So I let the mom pick the middle name. Um, but I'm gonna turn on my air conditioner real quick.
oh yeah, sounds
But
good, bro.
it's hot out here. Um, can you still hear me, Kier?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I had my daughter, and when I'd be in the system, I didn't have big dreams. I always just wanted to, like, okay, I want to have a nice girlfriend. I want to have a job, a place to live. I want to come home after work and watch TV, sports. I love sports. I'm a sports fan, right?
Yeah.
I could tell you anything about sports. I've always loved sports, and I finally got that when I was 25. And but the thing was that I never really dealt with my, like, core issues, whatever they were, that were as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I started when I was 11. I'm 25. I have a kid, a girlfriend, and a family, and I moved away from my neighborhood. And um, I just always wanted it, but I missed the lifestyle, right? I miss
Yep.
kicking with the homies. I miss going in and out of jail. I miss not having really. What really got me the most was having to stay with one woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having a girlfriend. That was the hard part for me, right? Because
Yeah.
I wanted to be out and about and not answer nobody. And
Uh-huh.
so, I was there, my daughter, for every every medical appointment. I was there when she was born. Um, I was there for everything, and I swore that I would never be like my dad. Right? I was like, hell no, I'm not gonna be like my dad. Right? I'm gonna be there for my kid. But I had this monster inside of me that never went away. Right? And so I ended up just going right back and doing a lot of the same things. And I ended up getting strung out on opiates. Started with the Vicodin and then went to the heroin, and next thing you know, I abandoned my family. I abandoned them, and I ended up back in prison when I was like 20, 28, maybe 27, 28. And some my disease at that time made me think like, damn, like I miss prison. I miss going in out of jail. I miss that camaraderie. I miss that just kicking back. I missed all that, and I got it back, and I was okay with it, and I was back in the system, and then the crazy thing is I would get out, and I would get out for spurts, and it would get like I would go right back to using drugs and drinking. Right, it was normal to me. That's all I knew. Those were my coping skills. Right.
Yep.
All I knew was that I got out, I drank, I got high, I chilled, and I stayed out for however long as possible. I had no goals, right? I had no mission. I had no purpose. It was just to stay out. Well, I guess I did. My goal was to stay out as long as possible and not get arrested, right? That was my goal, right? And I did that for a long time. And I would say, so I would say the turn. Oh, and so I'll go back. Let me before I forget this, and I share this with you. When I was 16 years old, when I was in the youth authority system, some people came in and they taught about Christ and God, and like I took that in for about a month, and I remember, and these were maximum security facilities, 2 barbed wire electric fences, razor wire. But I remember the connection that I had to God at the time, and I had never felt so free in my life.
Yeah.
I remember that freedom, and I gave it back because I wanted to fit in and be part of everything else with the homies and being in the mix, but that memory of that feeling, that seed being planted when I was 16 never went away. Right. And I share that a lot because sometimes when people are trying to help people, whatever it is in whatever situation, they get really frustrated when the person doesn't listen or change right away. But a lot of times we have to, especially us in recovery, we have to plant the seed some way or another.
Yep.
Right? We're the water, and it doesn't always grow right away. Sometimes it takes a long time. And for me, it took after that, it took me almost 20 years before I finally had the opportunity, right? And I'll get to that right now. But when I was about, when I got about 33, I was about 32, 33 years old, and I was really going hard on whatever it was. I was taking like I was mixing Xanax with heroin and mixing all kinds of pills, and I was starting to get high to the point of where I wanted to black out and not think about things, and one of the big turning points was I remember I was still living with my mom, early 30s, still living with my mom. I had a daughter, which I wasn't taking care of. Our relationship was, I'd see her once in a great while. I was not a dad. And I was dad, but not a father, right? And I remember one time I was going to the apartment, and I was looped out. I was way out of it, and I had a bunch of crystal meth in my pocket. My mom was like, she didn't let me in the house. My mom, that was always there for me, no matter what. She didn't let me in the house, right? Like my mom would literally, like, if for years and years, like, if I had a warrant and the cops would be at the door, my mom was just like, she would not open the door. She would be like, what do you want me to do? Because my mom was going to be down for me. And I would always tell her, open the door, it's cool. I never wanted my mom to get more in trouble. I never wanted to get in trouble. I don't want my mom to deal with that crap. And You know, me and my brother were both doing the same thing. So she had to deal with two sons, single mom dealing with two sons doing the same things. And you know that one last time, I I remember going there, and I remember going to her door, and like she didn't let me in. In the face, like the sadness and disappointment of her not like being there for me. Like I could see the pain in her face, but you know it was cool. Like I got it, and I left. You know, I had a lot of anger towards my mom and disappointment because I expected her to be a certain way, and I didn't really understand till like later. You know, and so um, I went down the street, and I remember I guess I blacked out because I woke up and there was like five cops around me, and I was like, damn, right? And they took me in, and I went in, and I was in there for like I was in county jail for like 7 months, and I was about to go home, and I got in trouble, and I got sent to what they call isolation, which is called the hole, right? And so I
Yeah.
was in there, and I was sitting in there, and my date that I was supposed to go home with passed, and I didn't care, right? Like I could handle it, right? I've been doing this for years. It wasn't nothing, right? Because you know it gave me respect, and you
Mm-hmm.
know it made me feel good as
Yeah.
part of that, and but what happened this time was I was sitting in my jail cell, and you know, and we would only come out of our cells like 1 hour every couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
They would handcuff us and walk us to the shower, and put us in the cage in the shower, right? And that's where like our ways to get out. But you know, one day the door opened to the module, and like the chaplain walked in. And every time the chaplain walks in, everybody's looking like, "Well, okay, what's the chaplain doing here?" But this time the chaplain came to my door, and then he asked me my name. He's like, "Hey, are you Victor Vega?" I was like, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
go, "What's up?" And he's like, "Well, is your mom Martha?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, and then he told me, like, "Well, she passed away yesterday." And I was like, "Oh, what?" And like I instantly broke down, right? Like I didn't hold my feelings back, regardless if I was in this place where everybody was like, I can't, you know, and like she was gone, and I had just seen her a couple of weeks before that, but
Mm-hmm.
and she was sick, and she came to visit me, and she was sick, and I was like, "No, go home, mom, you're sick. Like you don't need to be here. Like I'm good, right?" And you know, and then you know, and then like that, she was gone. The person that was always there for me, and um, that was in 2013, and
Mm-hmm.
for the next, you know, for the next year or so, like I got really like, you know, I really went hard with the heroin and the
Mm-hmm.
crystal meth. I was using that the fact, you know, people were feeling sorry for me and feeling bad for me. I use that to manipulate people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
use it to get my way. You know, people, "Oh, your mom passed away?" Yeah, and people would give me drugs. People would
Yeah.
give me places to stay. They would buy me food. You know, so it was like, honestly, it was part of my hustle, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I got worse and worse. You know, I was, you know, when I talked about being over there, like I was sleeping in the back of a dirty trailer with dirty blankets. I
Mm-hmm.
was sleeping in parks. I was sleeping in laundry rooms. I couldn't like I was hitting my bottom, right?
Yeah.
And and then just one day I was you know, one day I was, and I know this is my karma because I was with one of my homies, and he wanted to do heroin, and he wasn't supposed to do heroin because he had a bad heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, and he like you know, and I wasn't like tripping. I just wanted to get high. And so I remember I went out to get the heroin and meet the guy, and the cops showed up and got me. So
Mm-hmm.
it saved him and it saved me. And then I went to jail, and I was sitting there in jail again, and they were about to let me go home again, and I was like, I can't. Like I have nowhere to go. I don't have a home. And I told him I need to go to a program, and I got
Mm-hmm.
sent to the Salvation Army program in Santa
Yeah.
Monica, California, down in LA County.
Yeah.
And I got there, and I didn't go there to change my life. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't go there. I didn't know anything about recovery, being clean and sober. I didn't know nothing. I just knew that I needed somewhere to go, and they sent me there, and I was there, and I was there, and um, like I was still trying to hold that. I used to have a tattoo right here and right here and right here, right, like gang related tattoos. They're gone now, but like I use those as like an
What'd you do? You
identifier
had them
marker.
removed? You had
Yeah,
the
I had them
tattoos
lasered
removed?
off.
Oh,
Yeah,
what?
there's a place. Have you ever heard of Homeboy Industries in LA?
No.
Look them up. It's a cool organization. They
Wow.
help. They work with strictly gang members. It's the biggest gang prevention program in the world.
Oh,
It's
that's
right there by
awesome.
the yeah. But they do free laser removals, right?
What?
And so like anything like from here to here, like up there, they'll help you, right? And so I remember being in the program and being there and just listening. And I remember one guy. There was a guy that was an alumni. He old prisoner, had been sentenced to a life sentence, but he worked there and he helped. And he talked about, he would come in and say like motivating stuff in the morning. And he one time he talked about getting on his knees and praying. I was like, what? I go, I never heard of that, right? Like it
Uh-huh.
was foreign. And so when nobody was around, I went. They had a chapel. This was there was a Christian-based 12-step program, right?
Uh-huh.
And they had a chapel. They would have church services, but the chapel would be open and you could go in there anytime you want. And I remember going in there and really like getting on my knees when nobody was around, and when nobody was around, and just praying and asking God to like change my life. I didn't care what nobody thought. I didn't care what anybody
Mhm.
said anymore. I really just didn't like myself anymore. And it was there like after probably being off clean off everything for like maybe a month, partly in jail, partly in the program, and
Uh-huh.
like I didn't come alive right away, but that was
Yeah.
um my first kind of action of surrender, right? Before I really
Uh-huh.
knew what surrender was, and um I started listening, right? I had a mentor there, Jesse, and really cool dude, right? He's a friend of mine now. He still works there, right? And he would encourage me to do these things. He's like, hey, you should have you thought about getting those tattoos off? Have you thought about changing the way you dress, the way you comb your hair? Like he started telling me to change all these little things, and I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, I could do that. Nothing big. He never was like, you got to change your whole life. He would hit me with little things, and I would do that. And I started going to that chapel every morning. Right. Breakfast was at breakfast was at 6 o'clock at this program, so I'd get up at 5 o'clock every morning, brush
Yeah.
my teeth, wash up, and I would go down to that chapel at that treatment center, at the rehab, and I would take my little notebook and I would read this little spiritual book, and I would pray, and that was like I spent time with God for like 30 minutes almost every morning,
Yeah.
and it was so peaceful, you know. I would work hard for that, you know, and they would encourage us to go to meetings and find a sponsor, and I started going to meetings. I started getting commitments. I
Mhm.
started sharing at meetings. I felt so uncomfortable at meetings,
Mhm.
but I would get up there and share, and I would be as honest as I could, and like I started changing. I started to like myself a little bit. I didn't fall in love with myself right away. I wasn't one of those people like, oh, I love myself. Like, hell no.
Yeah.
That took me a couple years, really.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I started smiling more. Um, I started having a more positive attitude, and things started changing,
Mhm.
and for what worked for me was to I got involved with a lot of prayer. I started getting really spiritual,
Mhm.
and I started I worked with the sponsor, and I started working the steps with the sponsor, and for me, like, I didn't have to admit. I already knew. I've been admitting for years.
Yeah.
I always knew there was a God, because we talked about what happened when I was 16. So it came to believe. I already believe, and I
Uh-huh.
I was straight willing to turn my life over, right? And um and when I got to the fourth and fifth step, that's when I was able to unload a bunch of junk, stuff that
Yes.
was, whew, stuff
Yeah.
that was so heavy in my life. I started like talking about it, and being open and honest with another person, and what's up, Amber? And then I started like unloading all this stuff, and it made me feel so light. Like the stuff that carried so much weight in my life, right? This personal stuff was just like,
Yeah.
I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
And I felt so good, to do that, to talk to another man directly.
Yeah.
And it helped me so much because I had so much stuff built up, and
Mm-hmm.
um, drugs and alcohol, getting high and all that, sticking needle on my arm covered it, but it didn't take it away,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I went through so many spiritual changes, and little by little, I started having a relationship with my daughter, and I started talking to her, and I started changing, right? And I there's the Helote man. Did you hear his horn? Can you hear his horn?
Oh no,
The
I can't
horn man.
hear
No, okay. Um, see, I'm in the neighborhood, that's why.
it.
And so, I started having these spiritual changes, and I started changing, and I started talking different. And the
Yeah.
crazy thing is, at that program, even after I graduated, I would always go back because I lived like not that far, and I would see guys that I knew from prison, guys that I used to get high with,
Yeah.
guys that I grew up with. They were in that program, and I didn't even have to tell them anything. They would just see me like, damn, like you changed your life, huh? Like yeah, yeah, I'm trying to do good, and like it would encourage a lot of them, right? And so, um, like for 5 years, I lived in Santa Monica. I was part of the church. I went to meetings. I held various commitments. I stayed involved in the program, in the 12-step program. I was committed to my church. I worked as, well, my brother right here. We worked as drug and alcohol counselors at a treatment center in Santa Monica. Um, I managed a sober living home for like 4 or 5 years. It was a spiritual based a home. So
Yeah.
the guys had to give 5 hours of service every week where they had to give back.
Mm-hmm.
They had to do Bible studies, and they had to do 3 meetings a week, right? And so I was connected with that, and I worked with people on the streets. I worked with people that were living on the streets of LA. I worked with addicts. I worked with gang. I worked with so many people, and I got this experience. And like I started, after a couple years, I was able to call myself a man. I was able to love myself,
Yeah.
right? But it was a process. The thing for me was I had to like be honest with myself, and
Mm-hmm.
and recognize my feelings and be real with myself, right? People always talk about you got to be real, be honest, right? Well, with me, I had to be with myself more than anything, or I wasn't going to change anything,
Yeah.
and I changed like so much, and I became like a leader and a mentor to so many guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I've accumulated friends. And after 5 years of sobriety, I decided to come back home to Santa Barbara County, and and I came back, and there was a lot of anxiety and nervousness, right? A lot of fear because I was coming back to a place where I've never really succeeded, and I moved back to the same town where my daughter lived in Lompoc,
Uh-huh.
and she was living with her grandma. And I moved in with she was living with her aunts, and I moved in with her grandma, and eventually my daughter moved in with me,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually we all moved in, and we have a place now. And it was crazy because like I was I was that dude across the street, dirty as hell, not showering, couldn't do anything, and now I was able to like have enough money and support where people
Mm-hmm.
trusted me, and to find a place for all of us. Like I was able to help, and and my daughter was living with me, and she had her own room. Like finally, she was in my life, and so for the last almost 2 years, I've had my daughter living with me. She's a teenager. She's 15 years old now, and it's been like my biggest growth probably the last year. During COVID, her being at home from school,
Mm-hmm.
and me working from home a lot. Like it's helped our relationship. There's been ups and downs, but I'm in her life every day. And
Yeah.
my life is beautiful today.
Mm.
I work as an adolescent drug and alcohol counselor, so I'm able to work with kids that are in similar situations that I went through. Right,
Yeah.
I'm able to have compassion and understanding for them and help them. Right,
Yeah.
I'm in school, or I'm still going to school. Working full time. My niece also lives with me, so I have these two girls, teenage girls. They
Mm-hmm.
keep me on my toes. Right, they have the teenage girls. Um, teenage girls are going through their own thing, but they have so much energy about life. They enjoy
Yeah,
so much
yeah.
things. Yeah, and I watch them, and they're so funny. They could be hard on me sometimes. They try to tag team, but they're so cool, and like I love them. And like my life is, yeah, it does test my surprise. But my life is beautiful today. I recommitted like within the last month of going to 4 meetings a week, and I found a new sponsor, closer to home, and I'm working some stuff. I'm taking care of my health. Even though I have 6 years, I can't go on the old stuff.
Right. I know
Yeah,
exactly what you mean. Yeah.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
I could use some of the old tools and reinvent myself, and that's what I'm doing now, and I feel good. I'm back in my old neighborhood today because unfortunately a couple young kids lost their life about a week ago, and I've been just coming out here, and what I learned to be a service, and just be there for some friends, and 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 just help out. And it's crazy because everybody around me is drinking. Like there's about literally like 40-50 people drinking around me and partying, and I'm the sober dude smiling and trying to just be cool, But I got that from I learned how to be a service in the rooms,
That's
you
right.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's where I am today. I have a good
Right on.
spirit, so I'm really happy to be able to share that, and I it was a process, and it took a lot, and I'm so glad that I didn't rush anything. I'm glad that
Yeah.
I let the process just take care of itself, and
Right.
like I get blessed all the time in so many ways, though. But yeah, that
Right on,
that's
bro.
me today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks, Vic. So, man, you're
yeah,
you're talking that I can relate to so much different things, bro. Like even though
yeah,
I'm from Hawaii, you from California, like we're from different parts, of the planet, but like it's still I can still see myself in your story, bro. Like the
yeah,
things you did, how you felt, taking advantage of people, manipulating people. When your mom passed away and using that as a manipulation tool, like people feel sorry for you. God, like all these things, crazy man. Like you're talking about toward the end about like your old homies could see you and they just by looking at you they could see you were different already.
yeah,
And for me, like so much different things changed for me. Things I wasn't even trying to change, honestly. Like being in recovery, like okay, profanity was one. I wasn't trying to I never tried to stop swearing ever in my life. But on the road to recovery, I just stopped swearing. It's just like, I
yeah,
mean, no, I'm sorry. I only swear like when I'm really like really 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 upset, and that's rare.
yeah,
But like profanity was just how I talked everyday language. There's just I no longer do that anymore. And even to be honest, certain music I cannot listen to anymore. Certain movies I cannot watch anymore. It's
yeah,
just it's just a different spirit. My spirit's all like, oh, turn this off, man. We don't want to hear this, because those kind of things influence my thinking. And the main problem I got, it centers in my mind. But the solution is also up there as well. It just all depends on which voice I want to listen to. What decision I want to make. But we're running short on time, bro. So before we wrap up, I want to ask you some questions real quick. Okay?
okay.
Okay. So you talked about surrender. What were some times of surrender for you?
Um, I guess surrender for me, what it looks like besides that prayer, I guess surrender for me is it looks a little different today. Surrendering is just like it looks more like acceptance, right? Especially
Right.
like you know, um, when my daughter feels a certain way, and what's up, Angel? And so when she feels a certain way, I kind of like surrender to the fact that well, that's how she's gonna be, and let me find a way to kind of like be compassionate and understanding. And how can I help her? Let her go through her process, whatever it is, because
Yes.
I have to go through my process. She has to go through hers, and it's not fair for me to jump in and expect for her to act a certain way. And so I kind of, surrender on that. That's like my thing. My having the girls in my life has changed. Somebody said that earlier, but it changes the way that I deal with my recovery.
Yeah.
So
And that's pretty good, man. Like that's awesome how you explain that
yeah,
you know, surrender with like acceptance. You know, you're
yeah,
able to show like love and tolerance towards your daughter and allow her to have her own experience and not want to be in control. Well, I'm the dad, I'm the parent. No,
yeah,
you do this, you did that. You, like for me, that fourth step helped me with this. But one of the biggest like freedoms I've got from this program is allowing other people to have their own experience. Like I know
yeah,
if you fall in that trap, you're gonna die. But oh, that's okay. I'm gonna fall in it anyway, kind of thing. But like that don't bother me anymore. I don't have to be in control. Before if I wasn't in control, oh, I was out of control, bro. Like it was crazy. But yes, okay. So the next one. So what keeps you clean and sober today, bro?
today just the fact, just the fact that like I said, in this stage of my sobriety, it really has a lot to do with my daughter and being a dad.
Hmm.
And so what keeps me clean and sober is just thinking about, if I ever have like a bad thought, I think about what my daughter's already been through, you know,
Hmm.
um, and then checking my spiritual gauge, right? If I'm not feeling a certain way, I know that I don't want to feel that way. And so what can I do? I have the tools. What am I going to do? Right? It could be anything from going to shoot basketball just to get in a better uh physical state, and then my spirit could catch up. Um still going to meetings, right? um
Yep.
there's football games on right now, and there's pozole waiting right down the street for me. But this this helps me too.
Right.
This would help me, being able to share the message, and knowing that, the commitment, right? Like, again, another thing that I learned in the rooms, commitment, right? You have a commitment, be there, you
Right.
know. And so just wanting to take care of my spiritual mental health has helped me so much, because being in the program, it's taught me like that is just as important as having money and food on the table.
Yes.
So that's
Hmm.
just as important.
Okay, cool, bro. So next question is, what's in your opinion, what's your biggest blessing in recovery?
um you know when when um when I drive my daughter to the store, right? We go to the store, and we're putting on music. Um,
Mhm.
she's into early '90s West Coast rap right now, right? And
Oh,
that's the stuff that I grew up on, right? And
yeah.
so her, like, just watching her, like have a good time and enjoy it, like, um, it brings me so much joy, right? Like, the
Mhm.
blessing of being able to be a father every day when I was gone so many years. and
Yeah.
and and I guess another blessing is the fact that, like, I have a good spirit, and I can go anywhere at any time and be myself and be okay with myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
it took me a
Yes.
long time for that.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too.
Yeah,
Drugs and alcohol was the solution to that problem for me,
yeah,
back when I was like 13.
yeah.
Okay. So, hey, you have any like regrets being, active in addiction and things like that?
Um, yeah, I guess, leaving my family,
Mm-hmm.
leaving my daughter and her mom, and putting that, then they went through a lot of stuff, and so those are like some big regrets. I guess, I would love to, like, spend a few minutes with my mom, and just talk to
Yeah.
her and see what's going on in my life. But my mom was sick, I was doing bad, and I think God had a plan, right? My mom needed a rest, and I needed to get my life together. And
Mhm.
that's the way it was. And who knows, if my mom, who knows where I'd be if my mom, was still around. Who knows if she would have been worse
Yeah.
sick? If she would have gotten sicker, I wasn't as going to take care of her if I was on dope. So,
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. I mean, like, I wish she could see me now, but I know that somewhere she's, like, watches over me, and you
Yeah.
know, um, so
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. She's definitely proud of you,
yeah,
bro. Guarantee,
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. One more question, bro. So how do you practice the 12 step?
Um, this one is, um, being a father, being an uncle. to my daughter's cousins. Um, Allowing myself to be vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times, people that grow up in certain neighborhoods and homies, they can't always be vulnerable. So if I make myself present and available, like these people, like these homies and these people that grew up in these institutions on the streets, they know they have somebody to talk to and they're not going to feel judged, right? Um, it happened right here, right behind my car, like about a week ago. A young kid that I've known for a long time. Um, he's bad, strung out bad on crystal meth and heroin, and he just was like lost, and he was sitting on the floor while I was talking to him, and it was really hard. Like it was a spiritual battle, and I had to fight hard to sit there and listen to him. But like I saw myself in him, like a long time ago, but I was there, and I asked him, how can I help you? What can I do? What can I do to help you? Making myself available is so important. My my job, being a service to my kids, being present. Um, the most important thing for me is if I'm taking care of myself, I'm handling my spiritual, my physical, my mental, everything. If I'm taking care of myself, I got so much more to give people and to give to myself and to enjoy life, and my ultimate 12 step is to be a father to my daughter, and uncle to my niece that lives with me, and just be there for so many people. I'm constantly getting calls and messages about people that need help with their family or friends, and like I really, it's people are always like, oh, I'm so, no, it's okay, like it's not a bother,
Yeah.
it's not a bother. I love to be a service, and it's helped my sobriety tremendously. I know people
Yeah.
say that being a service can't keep you sober, but damn, it's a blessing of being clean and sober. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it
definitely.
looks like for me.
One thing that I'm so grateful for that this program has taught me how to think about you more than I think about me.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as long as I'm out of the problem, but that's like you said, just being of service alone doesn't necessarily guarantee me. Just speaking for myself doesn't guarantee I will stay sober. That is part of the solution for me. That's part of it. That's not the solution, but it's part of the solution. But one last question, bro. So what would you say to somebody out there watching this that's still struggling with drugs and alcohol?
Hmm. If they can understand, shoot, this is a tough one. Um, I guess I don't know if I can really tell them nothing, but I would more importantly, I guess I would, the message would be more towards the people that are trying to help them. You know,
Mhm.
um,
Okay.
be compassion,
Hmm.
become understanding. I can have a full conversation with somebody that's strung out or drunk. They ain't gonna hear me, but if I'm
Yeah.
there and I'm present and I'm compassionate and understanding, then I can help them. But that's a tough question because like you said, I've learned that I can't force anybody to do
No.
anything,
Yep.
but I guess I could always ask them, like, how can I help you? What can I do for you? Here's my number. Hit me up whenever you need it, when you need something,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna give them. I'm not gonna give them money. I'll take you to get food, clothes, whatever,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna give you money.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, um, I had an experience with this guy I was helping last year, and he couldn't stay sober. He was trying. He
Yeah.
was lying to me, but for some reason he didn't think I knew he was lying. It was just
Yeah.
so funny. It's like,
Let
bro,
me
I
know.
I I told all those lies, like, but I
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
was like, hey, you're lying to me, aren't you? You know what I mean? I just allowed him to just keep lying or whatever, and I would talk to him, I would encourage him because something that everybody before me came before me in the rooms, they said, look, and it helped me to better understand myself and start to love myself more and everything. They said, look, us alcoholic addicts, we're not bad people trying to get good. We're sick people trying to get well. That's the
Yeah.
same message I try to, tell everybody. Because so this guy was trying to help. At one point, his mom would call me to complain. Like, basically, she's calling me to tell me to fix him. But like what she doesn't understand is I cannot fix him. I cannot even fix
Yeah.
myself. God had to help me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I listen to her. I just listen. I mean, I'm over there just literally for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, just listening to this lady go on and on and on and on. But because I understand what her son is going through, because that used to be me. So like you said, bro, like having that compassion, I can be there for people. I can listen. You know, I'm not always talking. Like I knew everything. You know, active in my addiction. Like I had to learn how to listen with my ears and not with my mouth. You know, because I was famous for doing that. But yeah, yeah. But hey, Victor, thank you so much, bro, for being here. I really enjoyed it, man. I'm so happy I got to hear your entire story because I got like
Yeah.
bits and pieces and stuff of
Yeah.
it. But I really appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for being
Yeah.
here. And then, you know, I'll hit you up later.
All right. All right, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, brother. Have a good day.
Have a good one. You
All
too.
right. Bye-bye.
All right.
All right, guys. That was my friend Vic. So I always say this, the beginning, at the end, you know, if you have a story to tell, I would love to hear it. It doesn't matter how you got sober. I got sober in a 12-step program. But look, Victor got sober in a faith-based 12-step program. Some people that has been on here with the therapy, they got sober. Some people, they quote-unquote did it on their own. But like, honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, if you struggle with drugs and alcohol and you no longer do, I want to hear about it. I want that message to go out into the world because there's so much people that's still out there struggling, man. Our lives is on the line. People killing themselves. All these suicides are 100% preventable, you know, and like drugs and alcohol birthed this purpose in me. If it wasn't for drugs and alcohol, I would not be here talking to you guys right now. I'm very, very passionate about recovery, if you guys didn't notice. So again, you guys got a story to tell, please reach out to me. Thank you guys again for watching.